information. You're watching D365 Notes. So today we will be starting a new series with expense management module. So where we will be covering about expense report and basic setup of expense report. So this video will be covering about basic parameters and settings about the expense creating expense report. So let's get started. So this is my Dynamics 365 environment. So first we will be covering parameters. So for expense management, go to modules, then expense management. So in expense management, go to setup, general, then under the general, you will see expense management parameters. Now in the general tab, you will see too many options. But for our basic setup, you should keep in mind that personal expense paid by should be selected as paid by employee. Now click on save, and after that this is the basic setup for expense management parameter under general tab. Now under financial, you will see uh, there is ledger daily journal name. So I have already created this journal name. I will show you in the duplicate tab. I will go to general ledger module. Under the general ledger, you will see journal names. So here you will see I have created expense and description as expense, and type of the journal is expense. Sorry, daily. Journal type is daily journal, and I have marked as voucher series for the same expense journal. Now this is the parameter part of the expense management. After that, you will see shared categories. So I will click on shared categories. Here you will see that multiple options and multiple categories, shared categories are available. But what we will be using is, let me scroll down, a taxi category. So how you can create a category? You can create a category using click on new button. Here put your ID number, similarly like taxi, and you can mention the same in this. Click on save, can be used in project. So this record already exists. So when this can be used in project is marked when we will be using the same category in project management accounting, and our is uh, can be used in expense. So I will delete this and go to the original one. Here the expense type will be miscellaneous expense. Click on save. This is the shared category setup for expense management. Now after shared category, this is the global form. We need to define expense category. For defining expense category, go to expense management module, expense categories. So I will be repeating the path: expense management, setup, general, expense categories. So this is the setup. So I will be clicking on new button. I will select my category as a taxi. So I will select this taxi. Now here you will see default payment method. So let me go and view details. Here you will see that this is my payment method. So here you can see I have created cash. If you have a specific account type, you can mention, or let me mention a worker. So you don't have to mention anything other than this. So if you have mentioned worker, whatever account is mentioned on worker, it will take that. If you have requirement about ledger, you can mark your cash account ledger. So you can search and you can mark here. So I will be mentioning my worker over here. So this is the save. Now go back. Let me close this. I will be marking this as a cash. So after that, you need to mention your category group. So right click and view details, create a new category group. It is now 01. I will mention 01. Expense type will be, sorry, transaction type will be expense, and you can save and come back. Now I will close this and mark this as an expense. Once it is marked, you can mark your expense account. So I will be mentioning meeting expense, for example. So I will be taking this account. Now the basic setup for expense category is completed. What is the use of expense category? So expense category is the main core of expense management module, where you can define your default method of payment and main account as well. So here you will see you can have multiple method of payment, but in my case I am creating only one as a cash. After that I have to create policy for my expense report. So here I have my taxi policy created. So for creating taxi policy, before that, if you have like a new environment, you can go to parameters and select your order precedence as a company, and similarly you can define your same rule for this. After that you can come back, and this I have created already. So go to taxi policy, and in taxi policy I have selected my legal entity. So you can see your legal entity over here, and you can uh, transfer from here to here. Then it will work for a selected organization. Here this is my miscellaneous expense. So I will retire this policy and create new. Now my I will be defining a policy for my taxi expenses. Transaction amount is greater than equals to 2500, and here I will be selecting my currency INR. Now this is the first rule. Second rule will be and my I will be selecting expense category equals to value taxi. Click OK. So what this policy says, if transaction amount is greater than 2500 INR, expense category equals to taxi, then do the following. Means do not allow user to submit or approve and display error message. Or you can define do not allow approve until enter message, or you can define allow user to submit and approve but display a warning. So in my case I will be selecting this. So you can select uh, these things. So I will be selecting this, allow user to submit and approve but display warning message. So this is the thing here. So here for this if the amount is greater than 2500, what warning should be given? So I will be mentioning that warning here. I will be mentioning like amount is too high, like this. So here effective date will be today's date. Expiration date, if you have mentioned, you can mention as per your company rule. And I will be, if you want to evaluate this condition for any expense report, you can evaluate, but now I am not doing. I will be clicking OK. So this my expense policy is created. Now I didn't put any expiry date, so that's why it is taking 2154. So this is the expense policy, how you can define. After expense policies, you have to define your workflow. So regarding workflow, I have already defined my workflow where uh, let me open my this workflow. This is my user ID. I will be using this user ID. I will click on sign in. So it will ask me two-factor authentication. So let me approve and we will open. Now this is approved. So once this is approved, it will take some time and it will open the workflow. So now workflow is open. I have put a approve statement over here, and I will open and show you. So basic setting, you will see assignment as a user, and a user I have put my admin user. Now this is the workflow part. I am not saving and closing. I will cancel this and make sure this is your default workflow and version is you have activated. So I have activated my version. After that, you have to create your user in the system. User in the sense you have to create your employee. If you don't have any employee in the system, you will not able to create expense report. So it is mandatory to create your user in the system. So I have already created, but I will show you how to create. So for creating user, you have to go to human resource, worker, employees. So system will redirect you to this form. You can click on new button, or you can like make this Sarvesh Singh Shekhawat and select employment start date and click on hire. It will create it. So I have already created. After creating user, you have to make sure that this user is linked with your uh, email ID or user ID. So for marking your user on email ID or user ID, you have to go to uh, modules, system admin, users. So admin. So if you know about admin, so by default this Julia ID is marked on the admin. So I will show you how to mark that. So let me take, so this April account is not having any ID marked. So let me show you. So here you can select any ID as per your requirement here. So I will be selecting this and select this and click on save. So your person will be attached to your email ID, which is this email and user ID. So that is the basic setup of user and employee mapping on the D365. So make sure your employee is mapped with your user ID. After that, you have to go to human resource and employees again. So you have to mark your vendor with your employee. So go to employee mapping, per diem rate. Here account type is vendor and select your vendor account. So these are the basic parameters of the expense report. I think that's it for today. Today we have covered about uh, expense management, in which we have covered about expense parameters, expense management workflow, shared categories, expense categories, and policy.